Hello everyone, this is Mom Earl, and we will be having a new vlogs lesson for today. Alright, so before we start, here are the learning objectives for this lesson. First, widen vocabulary to the key components of effective technical writing. Next, demonstrate how communication works in business and in organization. Next, distinguish different business letter punctuations and styles. Next, write a memorandum. And lastly, use arguments, varied concepts in writing technical report. So the topic is entitled Personal versus Business Letters. So in here, we'll be having clarifications further, okay, discussions on the difference between personal and business letters. Well, written communication skills can be developed over time through practice or can be learned by following guidelines appropriate for business or personal circumstances. A proper business communication, whether in the form of an email, message, or a traditional letter, meaning to say handwritten, illustrates your knowledge of organizational structure, defines the recipient of your communication, and exhibits professional courtesy. Personal written communication is generally less formal, but the writer must demonstrate the same level of courtesy for even a personal letter to a close friend. So here is the purpose of a personal business letter. Why do we need to write this kind of letter? A personal business letter is typewritten communication between colleagues who are personally acquainted but work for different companies. For example, if one of your peers works for a company that received praise for award-winning technology, you could write a congratulatory letter to your professional colleague for being a member of the team that developed the technology. Personal business letters maintain relationships with professional contacts made through networking or business transactions. A cover letter transmitting your resume is also considered a personal business letter. Well, this resume is the one we attach in our documents. For example, if we are looking for a job, okay? If we are applying for a job. The two basic styles of reports are business and academic. Alright, so sometimes a business letter precedes a business report. In this, the writer would detail the contents and circumstances of the report. There are many similarities between academic and business writing, as they are both structured forms, but the personal business letter encapsulates them and sets the stage for them. A personal letter also is a communication between two acquaintances or friends concerning non-business matters. Okay, the content must anyways. Okay, it could just be a simple greetings, okay, or asking something, and then it's for you to reply. Okay, an example of a personal letter is a holiday greeting sent to a friend who lives abroad with wishes for a happy holiday, of course, and updates on personal highlights from the past year. Personal letters renew and maintain relationships with people whom you consider be or to be your friends. Personal letters can be typewritten if they are lengthy. However, it is also acceptable to handwrite a personal letter provided your handwriting is legible Okay, alright, in Tagalog, that is possible, according to the Emily Post Institute. But in our present era, messaging our friends or somebody else, even applying, that is usually done via email. Okay, sent via emails or just typing your message via messenger. So what is a stationery for personal business letters? Custom printed letterhead is widely accepted as a standard for business letters. Business letterhead contains the organization's name, logo, and contact information such as address, telephone, or your cell phone number, and the fax mail numbers and website URL according to Purdue University. Letterhead for professional business letters is much the same in that it contains your name, address, contact, okay. What else? Aside from contact information, you also have your personal website or URL. And if you have one, okay, you may have those information be also written. Some business letterhead, particularly for non-profit organizations, list the names of officers or the names of the organization's board of directors. Business letterhead is usually formal. Many experts recommend using a neutral color for stationery such as off-white or eggshell. Some etiquette experts lament the lost art of letter writing and suggest the use of printed stationery to enhance the experience of writing a letter instead of simply sending an email to friends. Alright, so as what I have mentioned a while ago, the okay, the art of letter writing is not really that is being practiced in our time today, because we have lots of technology we are using to communicate with somebody else. And a dictionary for personal letters can often reflect your personal style through the use of creative font, design, or colored paper. Now let's proceed to the different writing styles. A personal business letter, by virtue of its purpose, is written in a formal tone to convey our message in a professional manner. Transmitting a resume via personal business letter demonstrates your interest in a career. Therefore, your cover letter illustrates your ability to communicate a business-like fashion. On the other hand, a personal letter, especially one to a close friend, can be informal and may even contain colloquialisms. These colloquialisms are, it could also be the coinage or the jargons, okay? The specific terms we used within a group, or the things that you and your close friends are the ones who only know the meaning of a certain word, which would normally be unacceptable in business communications. So, in writing, okay, a business letter, for example, you're going to apply or look for a job, so this could be a format, but sometimes it depends on the university or school or in time. Okay, it depends in time. Okay, so this one is good for A4 for size. So this would be the format. We have the date, sender's address, next line, the recipient's address, and then salutation, body text, ID content, or where you write your purpose, okay, why you are going to send this message. Next is closing, and then signature block, and of course the enclosure. Right. So in regards to this first topic, here is your task entitled Write Me Out. So for the instruction, write one example each of the personal and business letter. Follow the format given, okay, that I already discussed, and then each will contribute 50 points, equivalent to 100 points. Okay, so for the criteria, coherence is 10%, clear organizations of ideas 10%, interactively followed leading info is 15%, and for the originality of your work, that counts for 15%. Okay, so total of 50 points. Now, let's have the characteristics and elements of business letters. We have 7 characteristics of effective business letters. As we all know, business letters inform, persuade, or do both at the same time. And in fact, effective business letters share certain characteristics regardless of the purpose. When writing your business letter, consider these characteristics. First, it omits needless words. So how this would be? Keep the body of your letter at 5 or fewer sentences, okay? Or keep to the letter at 250 words or less. This can be either the entire letter with the address, salutation, body of letter, and signature, or it can be just the text. It's up to you as a writer. So reading the letter aloud helps you identify needless words. Okay, that's why in your tasks or activities, especially in academic connected activity, you are tasked to, for example, create paragraphs composed of just 10 sentences or an essay with a given title which just having 250 words to 300 words, okay, for you to be practiced. Next, it omits useless humor. There is time and place for appropriate humor. A business letter is not such a place. Once while, for example, I was living somewhere, and if I'm going to apply for a position on a mayoral campaign, so I have to begin my cover letter with, for example, I am a homesick Houstonian hoping to return home. I thought my joke would make my cover letter stand out from the competition. Okay, but that is a bad idea. Okay, so the campaign manager rightly rejected my application. A good thing too, because that candidate lost the election. Okay, so we need to say lessen the sense of our humor. All right, make sure we are doing it in formal ways because there is only limited time for us to throw jokes. Okay, next, number 3, it focuses on you, the reader, and not the writer, of course. The ill-advised letter I wrote to mayoral campaign began with, okay, inappropriately focusing the letter on me, the writer. By contrast, if I focused the letter on the reader, that letter might have began by talking about the candidate, okay, and so forth and so on. So in this one, make sure that you only focus on your main intent or main course while you are writing, okay? If a mutual acquaintance suggested that you write this person, you might begin with your letter with our mutual friend, Mr. John Doe, suggested I write you about. Okay, then write the reason. Number four, it is addressed to a real person. Of course, okay? Committees do not read letters, consider viewpoints, make decisions, or take action or request. The people on those committees do these things. Even if you are instructed to address the letter to a committee, there is someone on that committee who has responsibility for gathering the paperwork and distributing everything to the committee. Alright, so you have to send the letter to this person. Number five, it has the appropriate tone. Meaning to say, if you're writing a letter of complaint, state your case without turning your letter into a withdrawal grant. Okay, avoid ranting. That would give you a negative vibe to the person you are writing with or you are concerned with. If you're writing a letter of recommendation or praise, state your case without going over the top. So reading your letter aloud helps you check the appropriate tone. Number six, if and when necessary, it asks for the order. Often when writing a letter, you're requesting that your reader perform a certain action, review a resume, schedule a job interview, complete and return paperwork, resolve a complaint, and so on. So clearly state what you want your reader to do. Clearly state how and why the reader must now take this action. For number seven, it provides your contact information. In a Peanuts comic strip, Charlie Brown is writing a letter to the editor in which he complains that people don't take responsibility for their actions. He then signs the letter, name withheld, such a signature makes for a good comic. But it doesn't make for a good business letter. Take responsibility for what you say by signing your name to it. Okay, your name is very important, of course, if you are addressing someone. And by following these tips, you will surely improve the effectiveness of your business letter. Now, for this lesson, here is your task entitled Acronymy. Okay, so for instruction, using your full name, create meanings behind it about the characteristics and elements of business letters. It must be in a complete sentence. Okay, so the criteria: clear organizations of idea, good for 15%, instructively follow the leading informations, that is 10%, and of course originality, that is 15%, with a total of 40 points. Now, we have this topic, basic and optional part of a business letter. For this, we have our learning objectives. First, widen vocabulary to the key components of effective technical writing. And the next one, demonstrate how communication works in business and in organization. And lastly, distinguish different business letter punctuations and styles. So here we go. A business letter is a formal letter, unlike a resume or cover letter. It can be more than one page and is likely to contain 6 parts. First, we have the heading. The heading contains the return address with the date on the last line. Sometimes it is necessary to include a line before the date with a phone number, the fax number, or email address. Often there is a line skipped between the address and the date. So it is not necessary to type a return address if you are using stationery with the return address already imprinted. But you should always use a date. Make sure that the heading is on the left margin. See this example. So we have the this one, Miss Jane Doe. Okay, so the address 543 Washington Street. Okay, market ML 49855, and then the telephone number, fax, email, and then the date. Next, for number 2, we also have the recipient's address. This is the address you are sending your letter to. Be sure to make it as complete as possible so it gets to its destination. Always include title names such as doctor, for example, if you know them. This is like the other address on the left margin. If a standard 8.5 by 11 paper is folded in thirds to fit in a standard, okay, so business envelope, the inside address should appear through the window in the envelope if there is one. So be sure to skip a line after the heading and before the recipient's address. Then skip another line after the inside address before the greeting. For an example, see the end of this. Okay, after this, there are given examples. Next, the salutation. The salutation or greeting is in a business letter is always formal. It often begins with "dear" and followed by the person's name. Once again, be sure to include the person's title if you know it, such as Miss or Mrs., then Mr. or Doctor or Doctora. If you're unsure about the person's title or gender, then just use their first name. For example, you would use only one you would only use the person's first name if the person you are writing to is Jordan and you do not know whether they identify as male, female, or non-binary. The salutation always ends with colon. Next, number 4, the body. The body is the meat of your letter. For black and modified letter formats, single space and left justify each paragraph. Be sure to leave a blank line between each paragraph. However, no matter the format. Be sure to always keep a line between the salutation and the body, as well as the body and the close. 5. The complementary clause. The complementary clause is a short and polite remark that ends your letter. The clause begins at the same justification as your date and the one line after the last body paragraph. Capitalize the first word of your closing. Thank you, and leave 4 lines for a signature between the clause and the sender's name. And then a comma should follow the closing. Number 6, the signature line. Skip at least 4 lines after the close for your signature and then type out the name to be signed. If you are printing this letter out and sending it by mail, you will sign your name in pen. Okay, so that's why we have the so-called e-sign or e-signature. This line will include your first and last name and often includes a middle initial, although it is not required. You may put your title beforehand to show how you wish to be addressed, Miss, Mrs., or Doctor. The signature should be in blue or black ink. And for number 7, we have the enclosures. If you have any enclosed documents such as a resume, you can indicate this by typing enclosures. One line below the listing, you also may include the name of each document. There are format and font. So here it is. Many organizations have their own style for writing a business letter, but here are some common examples. Black. The most common layout for a business letter is called a black format. In this format, the entire letter is justified to the left and single spaced, except for a double space between paragraphs. Number 2, modified black. Modified black is another popular type of business letter. The body of the letter and the sender's and the recipient's address are left justified and single spaced. However, in this format, the date and closing are tabbed to the center point. Number 3, semi-black. The least used style is called a semi-black. In it, each paragraph is indented instead of left justified. Then number 4, font. The standard font for business letters is Times New Roman size 12. However, fonts that are clear to be read, such as Arial, may also be used. And here is the sample letter. So always note these things. Your name goes only at the bottom. Your return address, no abbreviations. Okay, meaning to say you have to word it out. Okay, no abbreviations for street, avenue, and etc. Your city. Okay, your 2-letter state abbreviation, zip code. Date, write out either, like for example, June 4, 2010. First and last name of the person to whom you are writing, and then the address of that person, the city, okay, street and zip code, and then his or her title, dear Mr., Miss, or whomever. In the first paragraph, take note with this, introduce that you are writing about and what you want from them. In these subsequent paragraphs, explain the nature of your problem or your purpose, why you write, and what they can do for you. Be non-combative and straight to the point. I mean to say, be direct to the point. In the last paragraph, be sure to thank the recipient for their time and efforts on your behalf. Also, let them know that you will contact them or that they can contact you with any questions. And on the last part, you will have to write this sincerely yours, okay, for spaces so that your signature may appear here. Okay, and then write your full name, your whole name. And for that, this would be your test entitled Applicable I. So for the instruction, using all what you do have learned with this lesson, create your application letter. Assuming you are an applicant for senior high school teacher to vacant position at Dr. Maria D. Castrona National High School. So the further details will be sent on your GC, on our GC. So the criteria, clear organization of idea is 25%, completely follow the discussed key points, content and structure is 40%, originality on your content, that is 15%. Okay, don't ever get from the internet or Google. And then lastly, correct grammar usage is 20%. Overall, that is 100 points. So these are the given examples. Business letter, punctuations, and styles. Well, in modern business letters, typically use one of two styles of punctuation being used. These are mixed punctuation and open punctuation. Mixed punctuation requires a colon to follow the opening situation, like "Dear Mrs. Smith," and comma to end the complementary clause, "Sincerely," and then after comma write your name below. In open punctuation, both the colon and the comma can be omitted. Okay, so ibig sabihin pwede nang wala pareho. This style is popular in the United States and it's also gaining popularity in Europe. So that is an example of open punctuations. Okay, so we have the letterhead and the punctuations. Another, okay, so that you can easily understand, comprehend, or identify which is open to that mixed punctuation. Okay, in open punctuation, it has no punctuation mark after the salutation or complimentary clause. Example, "Dear Mr. Smith," and then on the last part, "Sincerely yours." Okay, there is no any kind of punctuation marks. In mixed punctuation, contains a colon after the salutation and a comma after the complementary clause. So this one, "Dear Mr. Smith," colon, and then "Sincerely yours," followed by comma. Okay, so this is part of a black letter style. We have the okay, return address, the date, letter address, salutation. Okay, we have the body, complementary clause, enclosure notation. Okay, if it is available, copy notation, and then author's kid name. And in business letter setup, so this is how to write this. Black format, meaning to say it is all aligned at the left side. And then open punctuations, default side margins, center vertically. Okay, so today I will be discussing this topic, okay, the last topic that we have. I'm going to discuss this and the type of business and ownership through which you can start a business, just in case in the near future you won't pursue your career as a teacher. Okay, actually when business is being talked to, teachers is always attached because there are lots of teachers who are doing business. So just to clarify, the type of business and the ownership that you would choose is dependent on your will and the investment opportunities that you have. However, once you choose a particular type of ownership, you will have to adjust with all the pros and cons it brings with it. There are mainly four types of business and ownership, as you see, okay, in that image. The first one, well, anyway, before we proceed, let's give each of the business types a closer look, along with the discussion of the pros and cons that it brings with it. Each of the business forms can impact management and financing opportunities. The first one is sole proprietorship. The easiest and the simplest form of business is the sole proprietorship. In such a business, you are the sole owner of your business. You need neither to share your profits nor get suggestions or recommendations for running your business. The formation and running of this type of business are also quite easy because you only need to think of a productive idea. So there are advantages and disadvantages. It's like the ease of information and running is the biggest advantage that you can hear. Moreover, you can make all the decisions on your own and get all the profit for yourself without sharing it with the others. Even the control and the flexibility associated with the people proprietor type of business is enough to tempt you to go for this type of business. Okay? Now let's have second one, partnership. In this one, the second type of business is the partnership business, wherein there are more than one individual, mostly 2 to 8 individuals. The investment is made by each of the partners and the profit or loss sharing ratio is kept accordingly. For example, if you are starting a business with one of your friends on a 50-50 basis. So in this case, the investment made by both of you would be equal, and so would be the division of profit and loss generated by the end of the year. There are two basic forms of partnership, which are limited partnership and general partnership. Both of these types of partnerships has different, the difference lies in the nature of liability. Because in general partnership business, none of the partners has the limited liability, whereas in the limited partnership, at least one of the partners of the partnership business must have a limited liability and the other ones can have the unlimited one. There are also different forms of partners depending upon the status of each, the role and responsibilities of each of the partner changes, and so on. So for the advantages and disadvantages, there are these certain advantages and disadvantages, like some of this include the chances of better decision making because of the inputs from a number of individuals, more opportunities for getting the necessary funding, along with the opportunity to get better results because of the specialization. The two major disadvantages that can associate with the partnership for form of this business are the sharing of profit and taking the responsibility of the actions of the other partners. Okay, sometimes this causes big disputes and nagkakaroon ng mga enemy because of this. So there can be a few more disadvantages as well, like lack of complete control and sharing of data and etc. But such disadvantages are more business specific. Number three, we have corporation. It is an entity with the separate seal. This type of business is quite different from the other types of business and ownership. Since in here there can be multiple investors, just like here we have MacTech, so that is called cooperative. Okay, so there can be multiple investors which are termed as the shareholders of the business. Moreover, the management and ownership of the business are usually possessed by different individuals. The owners hire the managers to perform the business. The profit earned through corporation is divided in all the shareholders, and even double taxation rule is applied by the government on the earnings. And then advantages and disadvantages. Well, in disadvantages, double taxation. It's already mentioned a while ago. So you'll have to pay double taxes. First time on the company's earnings and second time on the dividends. Moreover, you might have to face the agency problem as well. And its advantages, well, with this technique, it's include the wide scope of investment and complete formalization of all the processes. And lastly, we have cooperative. Correction. The MacDeco that we have here in Mauber Quezon is, I think, most suit for cooperative, not corporation. It is the business ownership type where the users of the products are the owners of the company as well. Such a type of business is usually for the welfare of others. The advantages and disadvantages of cooperative are also discussed below. So here we have various forms within the cooperative are also valuable to provide you with specific opportunities for the business, but there are some negatives associated with this form of business as well. So this form of business does not provide any chances of profit for the owner. Why? Because the presence of large stakeholders can influence effective decision making. But anyways, amongst these types of business and ownership discussed with this lesson, the sole proprietorship and the partnership business forms are ready to establish. With them, you can get more benefits, especially if your aim is to start as a small business. However, if you need to go for a large business with a lot of investment, the corporation would be a good choice. But this is only my opinion. You can analyze the dynamics of other business or the business that you already have and choose the type of business and ownership that suits you the best. And regarding the test, here is your final output entitled Busy Minded. So for the instruction, create a brochure of your own would-be business that suits your skills or aligned with your interest, featuring a catchy title, also the contents on how you will advertise it for a profitable sale, and thus make your business be known in the public. For the criteria, we have creativity is 30%, completely follow the discussed key points 25%, originality is 35%, and correct grammar usage good for 10%. Overall is 100%. And here are the list of the references. Okay, I hope you learned something regarding this important topics. Okay, because I know that it will be all relevant to you in the near future. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.